Number 10. The bullet mousetrap. You might have heard me say that and said, what? Which is exactly what I said when I saw a mousetrap that's main killing potential was to fire a lead slug Minuteman style at a small rodent. It is no exaggeration to say that the difference between this mousetrap and a musket is that a musket weighs a little bit more. The mousetrap was loaded just like a traditional musket of the time, with black powder, a lead ball, and even a percussion cap. In all honesty, I'm not sure how you go about defending this mousetrap. Textbook definition of overkill. Also, there's a loaded firearm in the house with a hair trigger that a small rodent could set off by gently grazing it. I like to imagine a fun family game of, do I no longer have a sister or was that just a mouse, after hearing a small musket fire inside the home. I also had to mention that while the immediate danger of a .32 caliber lead ball finding a new home in your stomach is frightening enough, black powder being black powder is very volatile and produces a lot of energy. Fire hazard. Smokey the fire safety dog does not approve. Number 9. Party favors in the sky. When you think of air travel today, you think of lots of space for you and your fellow passengers, meals that are flavorful and affordable. Air travel in 2021 is a stress-free, very organized way to travel. But in the 1700s, these luxuries of the sky were non-existent, as there was no air travel. Any international travel was done by ship, which took months at a time and was not a pleasurable experience, opposite to what was described above. Two French brothers wanted to change this, or rather just get off the ground. The two French brothers, Montgolfier, developed and flew the first unmanned hot air balloon on September 19, 1783. This was shortly followed up with a manned flight by Jean-Francois Pilote de Rosier. This was a very strange invention at the time, as this was really the beginning of humans and flight. Number 8. Nightmare story. I don't know about you guys, but no matter how you present them, dolls are just creepy. Have you ever noticed that when someone has a creepy doll, it's never just one? There's always a bunch of them for some reason. I don't know, I wouldn't want the room to feel safe or welcoming after all. One man in 1871 said, I know, let's make them even creepier by having them move themselves. The creeping doll, as it was called, was a doll-like automaton that had clock-like gears to simulate real human movement, with the addition of hidden wheels underneath to aid in the doll moving across the floor. Because, the last thing I need is this doll creeping into my bed at night. Whew. Number 7. Gee, this cane is heavy. As people began to settle down after imperial monarchies went the way of the dodo bird, it was a good idea in everyone's best interest to limit people carrying weapons. If people didn't have swords, it could make another revolution a little less bloody. But what's that I hear from upper class wealthy people who don't want to listen to the rules that they make? Well, how about concealed and hidden swords? Yep, that's right. Cane swords were a popular fashion accessory in the 19th century. As carrying swords fell out of fashion, royal men needed to take swords with them for self-defense, or so they thought. Even women were concealing these hidden bladed inventions in parasols. However, it was socially unacceptable for a woman to have such possessions, let alone have the ability to know such training. As time went on, the hidden compartments that held blades were replaced with my personal favorite item, a flask. Number 6. Look at all these cool chickens. Let's face it, we all went through our awkward phases in life. And if you didn't live through the early 2000s as a youth, then bands like Linkin Park and My Chemical Romance just don't hit as hard. So when trying to find the weirdest inventions of the 1800s, I felt like closing my bedroom door and playing Green Day as I dye my hair because I'm super serious about how I feel. Why do I feel this teenage angst, you ask? Well, that's because there's rose-tinted glasses for chickens. Yeah, and they're cooler than me. Oh, yeah, little tiny eyeglasses for chickens, but they actually have a good use. They were designed to prevent pecking and cannibalizing other chickens. Ooh. The theory goes that if a chicken was wearing rose-tinted glasses, he couldn't distinguish between blood and what wasn't. That way they wouldn't attack each other. Yet another heartwarming comfort from the 1800s. Number 5. I'm coming out of this hole, partner. We enjoy many luxuries in the 21st century. Warm houses, everyday appliances, and the freedom to shout profanities at strangers on the internet you slightly disagree with, but you give them the business anyway because it's been a bad week and you deserve it. But probably what we should all be thankful for is modern medicine. Back in the 1800s, it just wasn't where it is today. A great example of that is safety coffins. A truly grim situation. A medical doctor has declared you dead. And now you are being buried alive. Have no fear, friends, because you had enough money for a safety coffin. The coffin contained a device or means of various designs, which was to alert the living of your mistaken burial and hopeful resurrection. The very rational fear of being buried alive most likely was spun from fiction and news at the time, with the occasional case happening here and there. However, I'm of the opinion it should be a never ever kind of thing. Yeah, no thanks. Number 4. Your bad hair day has just been terminated. Oh, to live in a time of industrial revolution where machines go and go. I'm sure that all this heavy industry won't enable bad practices of corporations and usher in the destruction of our environment. Pfft, no sir! This is the age of machines, and if machines can help with one thing, it most certainly can aid in another. May I introduce you the rotary hairbrush? Why brush your own hair when an overcomplicated machine can do it for you? At the time, it kinda made sense. Machines felt like they were the way of the future. They were kind of right, but at this rate everything in the home would have intricate pulleys or a steam engine attached. Steampunk, anyone? Number 3. Pseudo-cool. Okay, so back in the 1700s, food was really hard to keep. For example, meat is packed with a salty brine in order to preserve it. It either has to be shipped overseas or last long enough through a cold and brutal winter. But plans for refrigeration were being drawn up, specifically the idea of vapor compression refrigeration. Not exactly the fridge that's in your kitchen today, considering there's still no main harnessing of electricity, which makes fridges run, but a brilliant idea nonetheless. While the fridge we know was still far away, it's crazy to think in the 1700s we had serious plans for one. While this was being developed, food was kept near lakes and snows in the winter. Runoffs from mountains were often used to keep drinks cool. I think this is something we all take for granted. I mean, could you imagine drinking room temperature milk or having a beef dinner that tastes saltier than salt? Looking back through history, it's interesting to see how humans persevere. As much as I love food, I don't know if I could stomach food from the past. Thank goodness we don't eat anything gross today. Hey man, do you have any canned cheese left? I'm kinda hungry. Number 2. Get on my mongoose, bro. Looking at the Motor Scout, you can see the beginnings of what could be a 4-wheeler. Personally, I think it looks like a mongoose from Halo, but Mom thinks I play too many games. Designed by F.R. Sims in the late 1890s, it was never really meant for off-road terrain, instead to support infantry on smooth roads. Sims, understanding the annoyance of trying to ride your motorized quad cycle while someone is firing at you, placed a Maxim machine gun on the quad to return fire. Which is strange because usually these things require a team of soldiers to operate. He also added an iron shield for a little extra protection. It is too bad that the next major conflict would have a lack of usable roads and more trenches than anything else. While it never did see combat, it was somewhat useful and would later inspire Sims to design the first armored car. Number 1. Bro, trust me. Everyone has a favorite article of clothing. For sports fans out there, it could be a lucky jersey, but back in the 1800s there was an article of clothing no British soldier could be without. The cholera belt. What does a cholera belt do exactly? Well, it helps to prevent cholera. I've got good sources, bro, trust me. The running not so scientific theory at the time was that any abdominal issues and sickness was caused by a chilly belly. So simply make your tummy warm and voila, cholera has been prevented. British soldiers in India were often given the belts unaware of the biohazard that was an epidemic. The belts were just flannel that basically wrapped around you. It's a good thing we're not superstitious today and would never buy into such ridiculousness. Hey man, did my order of healing crystals come in? I'm getting some bad voodoo vibes at home lately, man. I totally need to cleanse that space, bro.
Kicking off our list at number 10, Seaside at Home. Grab your goggles, friends, we're splashing around right off the hop. Seaside at Home, it sounds fun already. The Niagara Wave Rockin' Bath. Yeah, sounds exciting. Are you tired of regular bathtubs that are stationary and or relaxing? Well, the Niagara Wave Rockin' Bath washes all of that away. The bathtub purposely designed to rock. Yeah, it keeps your blood in active circulation, apparently, medical experts say, and it only requires 3 pails of water. The patent also promises the fullest illusion of a sea or river bath, whilst promising absolutely no water will splash onto the floor. Yeah. Good joke. No way. There's absolutely no way. Imagine having this growing up. My mom would be yelling at me to clean up the floor every minute. No way. I'd get in and then immediately get back out. This thing sucks. Also, it's kind of scary. I don't want to rock around underwater.
Number 9. Nuclear time. A lot happened in the 1900s. I mean, a lot. Couple wars here and there, the TV, the car. It was a busy century. A century full of discovery and invention. One such unusual invention was the radium dial, watches and clocks that were painted with luminescent paint, making the numbers and dials glow in the dark. Trouble with this new invention was the paint being used wasn't exactly safe, as it was made from radium. For the Breaking Bad nerds at home, radium is a highly radioactive element, even more so than the legendary uranium. So when a factory of women eager to get to work were told they were going to be painting watches with radioactive paint, do you think anyone asked for PPE? Truth be told, not everything was known about radium as it was only recently discovered, but what's so unusual is what factories told these women how to paint the watches. In order to give the brushes a fine tip, the women were instructed to use their lips to keep the brushes in perfect order, not knowing that day after day they were ingesting a very radioactive element. And in some sense of dark comedy, they sometimes had fun and painted their nails and on each other. I mean, it glowed in the dark, it was glow in the dark paint, it was new, it was cool. Over 50 women would become very sick from painting, and 12 sadly lost their lives.
Number 8. The multi-purpose cane. Again, enough with plain old canes. We're sick of them, alright? You know, the ones that help you walk around? Nah, that's old news. We're doing some new stuff in the 1800s. The multi-purpose cane has everything you need for your casual 1800s day, all in the palm of your hand. Catering to all gentlemanly pastimes, okay? Like for example, on the ad it says, catching butterflies, sheltering from the rain, playing the flute, okay, sure, and even a horse measuring tape, all in this cane. Nice, thank God this exists. I do all those things every single day, and now I can cut my time in half. Play the flute, measure a horse, and then Mary Poppins away. Easy. Number 7, fence cycle. Are you tired of walking along the fence all day long? If you're someone who does that, for sure. Yeah, perhaps you live on an 1800s farm and for some reason you have a really long fence with 0 twists and or turns and no nails sticking out, sturdy the entire time and completely flat. The perfectly long fence. Well, this holiday season, show your loved ones how much you respect their patellas and get them the fence cycle. Save them all that fence walking time. Hop on this weird saw contraption. There you go. Good luck. The upside down bicycle that could only work on flat fences. Nice. This patent here came from none other than Vincent van Gogh. Weird, right? Imagine this in the Toronto Van Gogh Experience exhibit. Get on these things and start wheeling around the city. You're like, this is wildly dangerous. Number 6, beauty patches. We need to bring back beauty patches immediately. Imagine Timothée Chalamet with an 1800s beauty patch on one side and Dune 2. Game over. Here's the Oscar. Take it. These patches came in all shapes and sizes, and even in this portrait from 1755, Joshua Reynolds painted Charles, the 9th Lord Cathcart, rocking a large beauty patch. Yeah, that's a pretty big one too. The guy looks like Nelly. What a look. That's confidence right there. That's a lord right there. Fabrics used in the 1800s were commonly small, tiny circles, sometimes even hearts or stars. Yeah, how fun is that? You'd think they were Arctic Monkey fans. But really, it's an 1800s star patch. Yeah. Gotcha. The reason for these patches, and sometimes having more than one, is because they were commonly used to cover up smallpox scars. Yeah, again, 1800s. They were made out of silk velvet and applied with glue, so pick your spot and be confident with it. The patches were dark black because they were meant to make your pale skin pop, you know, that Victorian era pale ghost look. The position of these patches could also determine your political allegiance. Yeah, who knew? Like your left, my right? Hang on, we gotta get on the same page here. Historian Joseph Addison took note of these positions when observing 2 parties from the 1800s. One party had patches on the right side of their face and the other had the opposite. Yeah, one side starts losing the argument when you're just like, I'm just gonna flip that over real quick. See ya. Number 5, Burke and Hare. This is a little different, but you deserve to know. Medical schools were offering a handsome fee for deceased bodies. Yeah, so if you have any of those, bring them on out. That's great. We're gonna study those because it's the 1800s. So now an unhealthy amount of Victorians came up with a new solution to make some money: robbing graves. Yeah, it got so out of hand that family members were actually guarding the graves of the recently deceased. Yeah, like their usher at a concert. They're like, we gotta make sure no one gets in here. But nobody goes down in history like William Burke and William Hare. I'm gonna call this an invention, an idea, something. This is dark history. This is the darkest of all. See, they wouldn't wait until the body was done living, you know what I mean? They would actually take people's lives and then rush the whole process. They took 16 victims in total between 1827 and 1828. It took 16 victims for people to start catching on to this horrible pattern. Are you kidding me? After 3, I'd be like, hold on. The pair would lure victims to their house, they would fill them with alcohol, and then they would suffocate them. It was horrible. They had a sick system because the body needed to be in the best condition possible in order to receive the best payout from the Edinburgh University Medical School. Yeah, you can't, hurt your product and then sell it, if you know what I mean. That's horrible. But yeah, it's what they were doing. That's why they suffocated them. The Anatomy Act of 1832 put an end to this horrific idea. So yeah. That's a dark patent. We don't like that idea. Not all these are fun, cool bathtubs. Some of them are horrendous. Number 4, bird hats. Hey, there we go. Back to some fun Victorian stuff. Look, I don't have to say much about this next one here. I love a good hat. I've tried a few out here on the channel. I've worn a frontwards cap, tried the backwards. I love a beanie. Big winter guy, wear the beanie a lot. But I've never worn a bird, like a dead bird, on my head. That's something I'm not gonna do in the future. Spoilers, I'm probably not gonna go that route. Taxidermy was a hot topic back in the 1800s. Folks would rock the beaver bowler hat, and it was considered fashion. And to be fair, who am I to judge, right? It was a dangerous trend long term. Conservationists were saying that around 67,000 species of birds were all at risk of extinction due to this fad. So yeah, fidget spinners are a little nicer now than putting a dead seagull on your head and being like, hey, Merry Christmas.
Number 3, Wilson! Some of you may have been cool enough back in 1975 to own a pet rock. Some of you may have not. Looking back, it doesn't really make any sense. Sure, everyone needs something to keep them company. Tom Hanks would have never gotten off the island he was stranded on if it wasn't for Wilson. Imagine a world without Tom Hanks. I, for one, would not want to live in such a world. All jokes aside, the pet rock was a genius marketing campaign, very similar to the fidget spinner of recent years. It's proof that if you can get a fad train rolling, you can sell anything. Now who wants some of my bathwater?
And number 2, servant stairs. Yeah, believe it or not, stairs were a common danger in the 1800s. I'm somebody who falls upstairs constantly. I fall upstairs, yeah, I have these big boots. Can't even walk in them. It's like Iron Giant over here. Houses were thrown up back then comedically fast. There wasn't a Mike Homes on Home situation. There wasn't even a building inspector that made sure, hey, things are safe. Servant staircases were also even smaller and they had less care. They were out of sight, built into narrow walls, often missing steps and cutting corners. That plus a tray of hot soup, it was next to impossible to move around without something horrible happening. And there were a lot of fatalities in these small staircases. Even today, around 12,000 people die falling downstairs a year. So hit that thumbs up and watch your step. Number 1, toilet troubles. Now the 1800s, it was a little dirty, a little nasty. You got water rocking around, splashing everywhere. You got mold growing out of your floors now. It was unsanitary to say the least. But it was also dangerous in ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect. One of the greatest 1800s inventions was the bathroom. Yeah, just gonna go take a number 2. What a brand new idea. But it took a few tries to figure out the whole, methane gas situation. Yeah, spontaneous combustion of the bathroom was weirdly common back in the 1800s. Flammable gases like methane and hydrogen sulfide, well, they would build up over time with human waste. And human waste would build up in the sewers and eventually back up into your homes. Next thing you know, you're lighting a candle and your bathroom's blown to smithereens. It's gone. And it smells terrible. Couldn't imagine a worse way to go, really. Do you want to see some strange inventions from the 1900s, from the 2000s? You want to go back in time? Tell me what you want to see down below. I'll take a peek and then, I'll do some of them. I won't do all of them. Some are kind of weird. You guys give some weird suggestions sometimes, but,
Starting with the K car. Oh yeah, these babies saved early 80s Chryslers from financial decimation. Remembered fondly for being front drive, inexpensive to produce, and absolutely plebeian, this efficient series was versatile and it had many variants. It was designed to be an economy car with limited engine choices, primarily a dinky 4-cylinder engine claiming between 30 and 40 miles per gallon. The K car was the basis for multiple Chrysler vehicles once the launch of the Reliant and Aries standard entry-level vehicles pulled them out of the financial ground a little bit. There were the Dodge Aries, the Plymouth Reliant, the Dodge 400, and the Chrysler LeBaron. By the mid-1980s, however, the decision proved itself successful with over 50% of Chrysler's profit coming directly from the K-car brands. Naturally, you could give it the classic 80s do-up. The snazzy wooden belt around the outside, the CB radio, the Landau roof, and even velour bench seats with button tufting. Ah, the 80s. As disrespected as it was versatile, the lowly K-car spread its plebeian roots and survived until 1995. For those of us who didn't see it in person, you most definitely have in movies and TV such as The Breakfast Club's red Dodge Aries and the cool Chrysler LeBaron convertible in St. Elmo's Fire.
Number 9, spray on hair. The babes are back. Yeah, that's what this real advertisement says about spray on hair. The babes are back. Look, I'm 28 and I know that a lot of guys have bad luck hair-wise at this age. This spray is not the solution, okay? This spray is not it. Just don't, this isn't it, my guy. This early 1990s product did not sweep the nation. Men did not regain their youth for $39.99 plus shipping. Didn't happen. It just looked like spray painted cobwebs. You know what I mean? It was like wet. It was very Halloween wet. It had like that damp, dewy morning look. I don't know. The advertisement legit says the babes are back. Yeah, which implies that the babes noticed his bald spot, decided as a group, you know, they had a meeting, made it official, and then they all left. Which is just not true. Women love bald guys. Vin Diesel, The Rock, Patrick Stewart, Professor X, are you kidding me? He summons the babes back. He's like, come.
Now that we're done spearing the neighbors, let's play some video games on the ColecoVision. The 80s saw the advent of so many video games that we love now. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Super Mario Bros, Tetris, to name a few. So after nearly bankrupting itself in 1978 with the overstocked and failed Telstar units, Coleco once again entered the console market looking to dethrone the Atari 2600 and the Intellivision, the current kings of the video game hill. The ColecoVision was released in 1982. It boasted amazing specs for the time, which showed in its arcade conversions. They did two things to secure their success. First, the Atari 2600 contained no patented material and was made up all of off-the-shelf hardware, so ColecoVision's expansion module 1 was essentially an entire 2600 which could fit into the Coleco's expansion port. AKA, they stole the 2600's games without stealing them. This gave gamers access to Atari's large library of games on a newer, better device and fueled interest to swap over to the console. Secondly, Coleco reached out to Japanese-based company called Nintendo, paying $250,000 for the rights of super popular arcade game called Donkey Kong, which would become the pack-in game with the console. Between its release of August 1982 and the Christmas that year, ColecoVision sold more than 500,000 units. The console actually only went out of use when the manufacturer just shifted focus to computer games. How about we do some arts and crafts? We can use puffy paint. Back in the times where custom clothing wasn't as easily orderable online, puffy paint was amongst the hottest ways to adorn your garb with personality, alongside fabric markers and bedazzlers and airbrush and tie-dye, of course. But puffy paint took it up a notch. Unlike 2D markers and overdone rhinestones, this paint went on wet, and as it dried, it lifted to become quite literally puffy. Different levels of puffy could be achieved with different paints. Really sucked when you wanted a giant pink flower to be puffy, but giant puff didn't come in pink colors. It was even better if it was glow in the dark, since visiting a roller rink without some kind of glow fashion was practically a crime. Now you could match your favorite roller skates during disco hour. Yeah, puffy paint truly turned your favorite shirt into a three-dimensional work of art, and it only started cracking and peeling off after the second wash. Amazing. A sleepover favorite was the horror hotline fad. Hotlines were a big thing in general during this time. Even kids channels were advertising calling in to talk to your favorite cartoon character for a credit card fee that would have your parents ready to toss you out of the house. Horror hotlines in particular though, those were huge. They were generally 900 numbers, a premium high-rate telephone number that is charged by the minute. These lines didn't become profitable for the average person to run until 1987, when AT&T launched a national call program allowing people to make money privately off of 900 numbers. Prices were often set up at $2 for the first minute and then smaller but still substantial sums for each minute afterwards. For horror stories, this is perfect. You could keep your listener on the line, building anticipation and fear in a story that keeps them hooked, willing to pay another few cents just to hear the end. Some examples of these numbers were 1-900-909-DARE, based off of the 1976 Evil horror movie that is literally about being possessed through a horror hotline, 1-900-490-DEAD, which was a zombie hotline, 1-900-660-FRED was used to listen to the terrifying dialogues of Freddy Krueger. I could go on, there's truly hundreds of these. 900 numbers tapered off due to the increased regulation in the mid-90s. This is because even though these numbers, very obviously aimed at children, did instruct anyone under 18 to ask parents for permission before calling, most did not. This resulted in some exorbitant phone bills and angry parents. The FTC made it illegal in 1993 to advertise 900 numbers to children under the age of 12 unless it was educational. Thankfully, adults were still able to use them for their version of entertainment, if you catch my drift. Another kid-aimed item was Freezy Freakies, which sounds way more inappropriate than it actually is. These are actually the item on the list that if it were to come out again, exactly as it had been in the 80s, it would still sell nowadays. Kids who grew up in the Northeast were pretty invested in this fad that might have gone unnoticed in warmer areas. It's a thick winter glove that when the temperature dipped below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, an image would suddenly appear on the material on the top of your hand. 30 plus designs were released, the most popular being a robot, a unicorn, rocket ships, ballerinas, rainbows, snowflakes, and various sports themes, though the I love snow with a heart were the most popular amongst all ages. The secret to the $13 freakies was thermochromic ink, a temperature-sensitive dye that's being used in mood rings and heat-sensitive food labels and can appear translucent until it's exposed to warmer temperatures. At the height of Freezy Mania, the manufacturer was moving 300,000 pairs of gloves per year, and while Freezy Freakies lasted well over a decade, by the 1990s things had cooled. Color-changing ink for coffee mugs or beer cans was more common, wearing down the novelty, and knockoffs had also grabbed licensed cartoon characters, which the Freezies were never interested in pursuing. Regardless, they're still available for purchase today. Taking it from the back 40s to the small screen, it's a duck hunt. Quite literally. Like said, there was a lot of video games coming out in the 80s, but Duck Hunt was unique. This game is what popularized light gun video games, games where you can use a real prop to interact with the screen. At the time of its release in '84, Duck Hunt was pretty much the first of its kind. The game was released for and by Nintendo, first as an arcade game, but then a launch game for the NES system in North America in '85. You would use the CRT television for my youngins, that's the big curved one that takes up like 4 cubic feet and has a green haze over the screen your parents could use to suss out if you're lying about watching TV before they came in the room, and the NES Zapper to shoot ducks appearing on said screen. They'd appear 1 or 2 at a time and you'd only have 3 missed shots before you're out. You hit the right amount of ducks, you're on to the next level. I played this not too long ago on an old CRT myself, and nothing says entertainment like being 2 feet from a screen and getting made fun of by your best friend for getting game rage at an '84 video game. Beginning with the nationwide rollout of NES in 1986, Duck Hunt was one of several titles Nintendo included in a pack-in game with some of its releases. It remains the most sold-out shooting game in the world. One fun tidbit I'll leave you with is the legacy of the Duck Hunt dog. It's only known by this name and would accompany players in certain game modes, notorious for laughing at you whenever you miss. The dog went on to cameo in another NES game, Bill Barker's Trick Shooting, but he also cameos in 2006 Wii Play and in 2011 Wii Play Motion. In 2014 Super Smash Bros., the dog and one of the ducks appear collectively as playable characters, and the Duck Hunt team and stage reappear in the 2019 Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. In 2015 film Pixels, it's the dog's best appearance, a cameo where it's given a trophy by the aliens and adopted by an old woman.
Number 3. Mood rings. I'll admit it, these blew my mind at one point. I was 4 years old and I could not understand the science behind a mood ring. I was relying on these things every single day. The mood ring was a 70s invention famous for, of course, its changing appearance. How does he do it? Nobody knows, right? That's the magic of it. Joshua Reynolds and Maris Ambatz were the moody masterminds behind the whole fad. And in 1995, the pair sold 40 million rings in only a few months. Yeah, what colors are angry again? Because I'm very that color right now, just hearing that fact.
No more monkeys jumping on the bed, especially when mom installs the waterbed. Oh yeah, these little baddies dominated the sleeping world for quite a while, and sure, they weren't invented in the 80s, rather the late 60s, but these beds were all the wave in the 80s. Get it? Seriously though, the 80s were the height of waterbed fame. It was as if they hadn't existed prior. After experimenting with chairs filled with cornstarch and even jello, Charlie Hall, a design student at San Francisco State University, hit upon the idea of a mattress full of water. Their advent suited the swinging 60s lustrous mindset. One company claimed that 2 things are better on a waterbed, and one of them is sleep. And Charlie Hall did sell waterbeds to Hugh Hefner to cover in Tasmanian possum hair after all. By 1971, Time magazine reported that in Manhattan, the waterbed display at Bloomingdale's department store for a while was the popular singles meeting place. But we're talking 80s, when the waterbed had successfully made the leap from lonely, luxurious bachelors to the suburban bedroom. At the peak of the waterbed craze in 1987, more than 1 out of 5 mattresses purchased in the US were waterbeds, meaning that they were more mainstream than a regular mattress. So why did mainstream vanish the way it did? Couple reasons. That sexual association, great marketing during the 1970s and early 1980s, became albatross by the 1990s. It also had technological shortcomings. They had very heavy wooden frames, required a hose to fill and empty. Moving them was disastrous, and I mean algae or leaks are a concern. Even nowadays, mattress retailers have expressed a client can lay on a mattress and love it, but learning it's a waterbed makes it an immediate no never mind. Mainly the reason's simple. Waterbeds emerged during a time where the culture embraced anything different, especially a product that embodied sexual liberation or creative freedom. We aren't the same anymore. Before Pokemon, Garbage Pail Kids were what got you sent home from school for not paying attention. Man, did parents and teachers hate them, but that is part of what made kids love them more. Everything about these cards was about irony and puns, from the name to the art to the literal mocking origins. Garbage Pail Kids came out in 1985 as trading cards depicting a character having some comical abnormality, deformity, or terrible injury or disease, all with a humorous wordplay character names such as Atom Bomb or Blasted Billy. Many of the cards' backs feature puzzle pieces that form a giant mural, while others vary depending on various series, from humorous licenses and awards to comic strips. The cards were actually made to parody the Cabbage Patch Kids doll franchise that was booming at the time as a boys product alternative. And it worked! Garbage Pail Kids quickly became the coolest thing around, with over 800 million cards making in the hands of children everywhere. The cards even inspired a live-action movie and an animated TV show, both made in 1987. The movie was so bad it grossed out critics and earned several Razzie Awards, which is a satirical awards show for cinematic failures. Cabbage Patch Kids got the last laugh, however. After suing, the producers of Garbage Pail Kids settled outside of court to remove the resemblance between the characters and to change the logo design. Production of the cards themselves continued, but by 1988 the sales had dwindled and a planned Series 16 was just never produced. These cards were banned, traded, and now collected. Some of these vintages are worth fortunes nowadays.
Starting our list off at number 10, VR. Okay, I recently got an Oculus and I felt sick a lot. I was so dizzy right off the bat. The game's super hot where you have to like throw items at bad guys. I actually got anxious. My palms were sweaty, my heart was racing. Olivia straight up cried when she tried it. It was a wild ride. This is pretty powerful technology. Black Mirror, of course, has toyed with how VR could go wrong, but The Simpsons also predicted its dangers all the way back in 2016. The episode titled Friends and Family has the town of Springfield excited over this new VR tech that's finally arrived. They're so into it that eventually people are walking in the streets while wearing these headsets. They're bumping into walls, they're smacking their heads, they're ignoring real life obligations. Cut to now with Facebook going the virtual route recently with the introduction of the metaverse. I believe The Simpsons actually undermined the dangers for this one. Yeah, you thought pop-ups and sketchy links were bad for your family on Facebook? I don't know, soon we're gonna be walking into virtual pop-ups. That's gonna be pretty alarming. $3 billion worth of VR was sold during the pandemic alone. Connecting during times like such can be vital, but how far is too far? Which room am I in? I'm in the laundry room like sword fighting someone. I'm like, what am I doing right now?
I hope you have fast reflexes because Bop It is number 9. Originally invented in 1996, this handheld toy quickly became worldwide success and a popular toy. Models of it winning numerous awards for electronic toys and games. To jog your memory or teach some new folks, the original game of Bop It has 3 main features. Bop It was a button on the side, Twist It was a twisting handle on the lower left side, and Pull It was a pullable handle near the top. The device would call out one of the 3 instructions, increasing the speed as the game progressed. Whenever the player fumbled or missed the call, the game was over. Players' scores are announced at the end of the gameplay with a cipher in which different tones represent different point values, and the maximum possible score is 100. The 3 were spread enough to require quick reflex and have 3 game modes: solo play, multiplayer play, and beat bopping, which followed a musical tone. This game was the first of what was later to become a series of Bop It games relying on the same set of basic patents.
Number 8, 3D printing. This is something that did not exist when I was younger at all, in any way, shape, or form. All we had were those spider markers that like connect the dots that are like kind of sticky. That was it. That's the closest we had to 3D printing. Now people are printing swords in their basement. I don't know. Connor on our gaming channel, he printed a Pokeball and it looks awesome. It's a real size Pokeball. Now he has one of those because he printed it. It's becoming increasingly popular as they're becoming more accessible. Unlike the traditional printer, 3D printers are able to print and create these 3-dimensional objects on the spot. It's fascinating how fast it works. This technology is continuing to advance, and some printers now have capabilities of printing out food and even organs. So that's great, but again, where is this all going? How far are we gonna go? Sounds like it's a kind of a bad idea. It feels good, but so does everybody in the first 20 minutes of a Black Mirror episode. Know what I mean? Like, oh, this technology is fascinating. Then they're like stuck in some virtual matrix for 40 years. Number 7, smart TVs. Survivor season 42, episode 5. That's it. That's how easy it is right now. That's where we're at with technology. Remember TV guides? That's gone. Ask your parents about TV guides. Watch the trauma return in their eyes when you ask them that one. I didn't know this was something that people were worried about until I looked into it. I love my smart TV. It's got all the apps. I can speak into the microphone instead of using the terrible Prime search function. I don't need cable as well. It solves so many problems and the picture is great, but not everybody feels so on board with these smart TVs. Apparently smart TVs are so smart now that they're also keeping tabs on users' viewing habits, which viewers are worried will somehow allow criminals to hack in and then steal their personal information, which more than fair. This is a new technology. I have no idea how to do it. My dad has no idea how to use smart TVs. Oh my god, that's a nightmare all the time. There might be something that I'm missing, but do I want to find out? No, I don't know. Imagine someone hacking your TV in the middle of the night. Anonymous just appears. That'd be so haunting. I would not want to get out of bed. Number 6, self-driving cars. If you own a Tesla, first of all, nice. Bravo, must be nice, that's great. But comment down below how often you actually use the self-driving feature. I imagine that it's terrifying. I don't know if I could ever use that. Just click it and just, okay, hope it works. I watched this body cam footage the other day online of someone being pulled over in a self-driving car because they were asleep at the wheel. They were asleep, but they were driving, well the car was driving, but they were having a nap. They were on their way to work asleep, you know what I mean? This is where the line gets kind of hazy. Do we want this technology to go further? I don't know. I kind of want people awake on the road. Call me old school. I mean, there are plenty of reasons why this feature makes sense, why it could be exceptionally helpful, and why, you know, there's people who are clearly on board with the idea, but there are also some things that are rightfully a major cause for concern. One of the most debated and truly one of the biggest questions surrounding this is an ethical one, like, will a self-driving car prioritize its driver over other road users in any given situation? Know what I mean? Something happens, who's it gonna prioritize? Someone you're about to hit, it's gonna prioritize you. How do we make those real life decisions? We don't. Well, we do, but computers, they don't. Number 5, Google Glass. Smart eyewear technology, that's cool. You want to feel like Tony Stark? Sure, I get the idea. Ideally, when it's worked out, this pair of shades can make you a little bit of a superhero, okay? It's able to display information and content in a similar way that a smartphone would, only, you know, hands-free. It would be only voice control, wearing a heads-up display like Google Glass or even a modified version of VR. Now or later, I don't know if I'm on board, to be honest with you. These can contribute to eye fatigue and may cause visual confusion. And also, this may mess with your memories, scientists say. You'll get a pop-up in the middle of your kid's first birthday and your whole memory is just ruined forever, you know what I mean? I don't want that. I don't want a computer or notifications anywhere around me. My phone's bad enough, let alone Google Glass. Middle of a conversation, a really dirty pop-up comes up, you're getting coffee with your parents, you're like, close, please. Number 4, robots. Oh god, here we go. We're at a point now where robots can straight up do parkour. Boston Dynamics is trending every other week. Half the time I can't tell if their videos are real or fake. These robots are just too impressive. Sophia the robot. Yeah, she's been on talk shows. She's a fun time. Let's talk about her for a bit. Sophia the robot is the first robot to ever receive citizenship from a country. Can you believe that? She's legally from Saudi Arabia. Sophia is a citizen, and this robot citizen was on talk shows saying how she wants to destroy humans. And then everybody around on the talk show laughed and went along with the bit. Could this slowly be underway? Is this a marketing ploy? I don't know. Either way, I don't like when robots say again, hey, call me old school. I don't like when robots do
The equivalent of psychedelic for a preteen was Lisa Frank items. Number 3. Girls growing up in the 90s had access to what may be history's most vibrant and eclectic eras of fashion and baubles. Baby Fat, the Delia's catalog, Wet Seal low-rise jeans, and of course, Lisa Frank. Their endless products included everything from stickers and 3-ring binders to jewelry and clothing. All featured the iconic brand signature aesthetic of cute cuddly animals in bright colors and patterns amidst black color blocking. Lisa Frank herself was only 24 when she incorporated her name into a franchise, and it's in the same year that she received its first $1 million order from Spencer's Gifts, aka she was a smash success from day one. Lisa Frank's popularity took a dip with the rise of digital era. The company receded into smaller collaborations and was mostly underground, but strongly resurged in the 2010s. Since there's been brand collabs with Crocs, Urban Outfitters, BlendJet, Morph Makeup, and even Pillsbury sugar cookies. If you've managed to hold on to some of your Lisa Frank items from childhood, you'd be surprised to know that some of them have gone up in value and are worth a pretty penny now.
Number 2, mood rings. Okay, for these last two, we're gonna jazz it up a little bit. I'm gonna pick 2 inventions that thought they changed the game, but really, they didn't at all. This 70s invention was a real gem. Pun, we got it. The mood ring, as far as fads go, not the best, not the worst. It's nothing like our #1 spot, but it's quite close. The stone that would change its appearance due to your body heat. That was the magic of it. But some folk actually let this ring make decisions for them in real life. The mood ring was the bee's knees all around town. Joshua Reynolds and Maurice Ambat created them in 1975. They added some love, or some lies rather, to the mix, and now we got a popular fad. Yellow meant that you were nervous. Blue meant that you were relaxed. And red obviously meant that you were mad, right? Of course, take your ring back and your $8. They sold 40 million rings in just a few months alone, making around $20 million in sales. All for a ring that just likes your body heat. My mood ring says that I'm angry after hearing that fact. So let's move on. Finally, #1. Silly bands. Oh boy, where do I even start with these ones? I remember taking part of this craze when I was in high school. I had like 11 of these all wrapped around. Zero circulation, but you know what? I was cool. They were literally just rubber bands that made a silly shape. And most of the time, the shapes weren't even that silly. It would just be an anchor or a hammer. That's not silly at all. The same team that made the Live Strong bracelets were responsible for silly bands, and by 2010, thousands of stores were selling them. It was hot. You couldn't even buy these things, honestly. They were sold out, I remember. I was part of the mob trying to get those silly bananas. Classrooms had to ban these because they were too distracting. How embarrassing is that? The iPad came out in 2010, yet they had to ban silly bands in the classroom. We love it. Silly bands made over 100 million a year. I'd say it's worth it for that guy. The guy's swimming inside of his house now because we wanted the $ shape wrapped around our wrist for some reason. So you know what? He got us. Eat the rich. I'm like, yeah, eat the rich, but stop buying silly bands at the same time. Know what I mean?
#10, the hula chair. Here's another gem from the depths of the infomercial vault of nonsense, and seriously, there's a lot. Look, as a Canadian, we still love consumerism. Sure, but not as much as the United States, but there's still a lot of mom and dads sitting on the couch every Saturday with the fat credit card, just waiting for the next life-changing product to come across the screen. So that means we get to see those awful infomercials too. You're not alone, Americans. That includes the hula chair, the latest mechanized weight loss product that promises to keep you in shape with minimal effort. I should be the spokesman. Well, sign me and the rest of America up, baby, because the hula chair is a motorized chair that swivels to keep you moving while sitting. Something like this, a little hula movement for you, something like that, wow. Demonstrations of the chair show multiple speeds, the fastest looking more like a violent throwing than weight loss, and well, no surprise, it doesn't work, and they're just not really around anymore. For good reason. #9, are you winning, son? Is something your dad and every dad has said when checking on their kid playing games on a Sunday afternoon. Naturally, not knowing what a video game is or what a Pikachu does is just part of being a dad. However, next time dad decides to go on one of his fishing trips, you should surprise him with the Game Boy Fish Finder. Yeah, I know, another Game Boy gadget, but I had to. Every dad says they caught the big one, and they're not talking about your mom. But now dad can see them coming. Imagine spending hours in the summer sun on a lake with your dad, and the only thing that was distracting you from his developing drinking issue is now being used to find fish. But sometimes Nintendo likes to do weird stuff. Remember when the Wii came out? It was kind of weird. Loved it though. But a fish finder? This is only something a 90s fever dream could come up with. I'm just not sure about that one. #8, the Edge of Glory. This is another case of excellent marketing through cheesy commercials at 2 a.m. The Edge of Glory is a knife sharpener that promises to take all of your old kitchen knives and turn them into a samurai's blade. Okay, not an actual katana, but the sharpness of one. As Anthony Sullivan demonstrates in the infomercial, there's nothing it can't do. Like I said before, the Edge of Glory is just clever marketing. It doesn't do anything that other whetstones or blade sharpeners don't do, and there's no way they're going to outperform the competitor at 3 easy payments of $29.99. So call now. No, I'm just kidding. It's on this worst invention list because they slapped a new name on something that already exists, and plus, it's probably made a lot cheaper than the real stuff, and they're just begging you to bust out your credit card. So yeah, that's why it's on here. Makes sense. #7, the Euro Club. Back to the golf inventions because Dad, sure. Okay, let's make a scenario. It's July long weekend, and you're spending time on the golf course like all the other dads who don't want to spend time with their families. It's hot out, so you've been slamming back beers like a frat party. Plus, the older guys just want to see the beer girl come back with another round. gross. Beer guys can be gross sometimes. Anyway, it's a busy day and you're playing between groups. All of a sudden, you have to use the washroom, but walking all the way back to the clubhouse is not an option. Thank goodness you have your Euro Club, the discreet and sanitary option for urinating on the golf course. God damn, it's gross. A thick-handled golf club fits right into your bag with the others, but it's actually a portable washroom. Look, I get it, cute idea, but I'm a man, and I know men. We'd rather just go find a bush, complete with a thick golf club and a little blanket to put over yourself so you have a little bit of privacy while you do your business. We should have one for the gym. You don't want to get a dumbbell or something, you know what I mean? That'd be, see, now there's an idea. That's a smart idea, one for the gym. Number 6, Skinny's Instant Lifts. Okay, so the edge of glory is shifty. It's shady, but at least it has the potential to sharpen your blades, which I think we can all agree having dull blades sucks. See, I should be a spokesman. This is a product that's not only something you have in the home, but, well, you probably have lots of it. Basically trying to pull the wool or the tape over consumers' eyes. To sum it up, Skinny's Instant Lifts are strips of adhesive tape that can fold, pull, and keep in place unwanted saggy skin, fat, and just the more flabby parts of the human body. We all get old. It happens. It's happening to me. I'm getting older. And we all don't look like we did when we were 18. I look pretty close, but I'm getting older. And we can all understand how people would hand cash over the table to look better, or look like they did when they were 18. Can you blame them? You can't. That being said, taping yourself up like a third grade science project isn't going to help. So, in a nutshell, they're just trying to sell you Scotch tape. It doesn't... That's a terrible invention. Let me just tape myself up here. I'm getting ready for the party in a minute. Let me just pull all this in. Yeah. No. Number 5. Chia. Chia Pets. I know everyone has heard of the Chia Pets. Shout out to all the gardeners out there. How are the strawberries growing this year? I hope good. Yeah. The Chia Pet is a terracotta pot filled with chia seeds that will eventually grow chia sprouts. The catch? The terracotta planter or base is almost always featuring some sort of recognizable icon. So when the chia grows, it resembles the hair, fur, or some sort of color contrasting part of that icon. Some include Chewbacca, Weird Al Yankovic, Donald Trump, Abraham Lincoln, Yoda, Baby Yoda, Scooby-Doo, SpongeBob, Shrek, Bob Ross, Homer Simpson, and many, many more icons, especially of Americana iconography. Whew, man, that's a mouthful. This one isn't the worst, you know, because you need plants around the house. You gotta have some plants. It brings the house together. It's just hard to imagine folks dishing out dough for a cool terracotta pot and a commercial tune that everybody knows. Chia. Number 4, shag carpet. On a personal level, I'm not a carpet guy. Chris, get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind right out of that gutter, buddy. No. On a personal level, I'm not a carpet guy. I'm just too much of a man. Or at least that's what my mom says. Okay, sure, I spill food all over myself all the time, but I'm not that bad, ladies. Come on. I put the toothpaste cap back on after I'm done brushing my teeth, so I can't be that bad. I'm just a hardwood floor kind of guy. I think it looks nicer, it lasts longer, and is way easier to clean, especially when you got guys like me around. So you can understand why I put shag carpet on this list. Popularized in the late 60s and early 70s, there wasn't a home magazine around that didn't feature shag carpet. Known for its long fibers and wacky colors, the shag carpets resemble that of an animal hide that never stopped growing fur. Very popular with the hippie and free love crowds of the 60s and 70s, like I said, but it's hard to clean, ugly, and sometimes, strange enough, a tripping hazard. And I don't like that in the house. Tripping's bad. I felt the other day, it really hurt. I got a blister on my finger now, it's bad. Number 3. Didn't sell very well, boy. I doubt many people would remember this, and in Nintendo's defense, they usually know what they're doing. Sometimes. I know I'm talking about gaming stuff again, but besides making you guys laugh, it's like the only other passion I have, man. The Virtual Boy. I wouldn't expect many to have seen it since the sales were so poor, since the console was so poor. The Virtual Boy was a 32-bit portable console that was basically a headset, except, you know, there's no straps to put it on your head, but a stand so you can play games while you sit or while you're prone. I guess that would have been cool if there was like a sniper game or something, but for classic Nintendo side-scrolling action, it doesn't really make any sense. The main selling point was the graphics. The Virtual Boy was capable of 3D, which was huge for the time. Except, it was stereographic 3D and monochrome red. Watching footage of the gameplay gives me a headache just looking at it, so I can see why laying down on your living room floor for a while, playing it would just suck. It just wouldn't be good. Number 2, the Power Glove. The Power Glove. Could you really own anything more 80s than the Power Glove? The Power Glove was an accessory for the NES that allowed players to use motion controls on 2D games, complete with a retro sensor bar and number pad to input codes for your controller to work with the current game that you're playing. Well, the truth is, folks, it just sucked. It doesn't work properly. It gets sweaty and smelly easily because a lot of it's actually just a glove. At the time, there was no internet, so if you didn't have a code book or knew the code to input into the glove for your game, you literally couldn't use it to play the games that you wanted to use it for, thus rendering it useless, and I argue that's a bad invention. So silly. I'm playing with power! Number 1, Rob the Robot. Lastly, another NES accessory, except this one was for lonely Nintendo players. Basically, Rob the Robot was a second player when you didn't have one. He was battery operated and used a variety of spinning tops to push down buttons that you had, well, some control of to simulate the efforts of a second player. The issue here? Well, he requires both D and AA batteries. He's slow. Oftentimes, after extended use struggles to pick up the spinners he uses to input controls into the game. And he's officially only compatible with 2 games. Stack Up and Gyromite, which I can tell from the audience's silence right now that they've never played those games on the NES. Duck Hunt, Mario, Zelda. Stack Up? No, you didn't have Stack Up, don't lie, you didn't have it, you never had it. Number 10, the National Razor. What's a revolution without a little blood being spilt? Wouldn't really be a revolution, would it? France was having a hard time in the 1700s, so they needed a brand new way to get rid of pesky monarchs and anyone who isn't warming up to the revolutionary ideals. And what better way to keep people warm by cleaving their heads from their body? A man named Joseph Ignaz Guillotine suggested that there was a better method for unaliving those who needed to be unalived. A common misconception is that he invented the guillotine, but rather suggested its implementation, where his name would become synonymous with such a terrible device. Basically, you got a wood frame with a hole for your noggin and a large angled blade. Blade drops down from frame and removes the head of state from the governing body, which isn't just a clever joke, as that's what happened to the last king and queen of France. By the time of its invention and the end of its use all the way up into the 1970s, yes, that's right, it was used up until the 70s, thousands of people met their doom to the National Razor. Number 9. Tea for men. Winding the clock back to the 1800s, you'll find pictures of distinguished ladies and gentlemen. And these distinguished gentlemen have the fullest and thickest mustaches ever grown by man. Much care is needed to maintain such a manly image. So when an established gentleman goes for his morning tea, it would be rather unfortunate to get his mustache wet and ruin his dashing good looks. An invention of the 1800s beckons to solve this issue with the mustache cup. Mustache cups were invented so the chivalrous men of the day didn't ruin their grooming rituals with a cup of Earl Grey tea. The cups had a small porcelain mouthpiece with a smaller hole for drinking, while the main piece would protect the stash. It may sound ridiculous, but it almost looks like a modern travel mug. So maybe they were onto something. Number 8. Puckle needs his gat. Ever since black powder first made it to Europe and Europeans figured out you could make big gun that go boom, people have been trying to come up with better and faster ways to make gun go boom. In the 1700s, the biggest issue with muskets and cannons at the time was reloading or getting multiple shots off. Loading black powder weapons isn't easy. I'd say ask a pirate, but you can't. Those kind of pirates are all gone now. So to fix the issue of the day, a man named James Puckle invented the very cleverly named Puckle gun. Basically, he just added more chambers of shot rotating around one barrel. Although his idea for the time was genius, in practice it wasn't very effective, as flintlock and black powder are really the main issue. Clumsy, lots of smoke, and does not want to work in less than fair weather conditions. Number 7. Cotton Eye Joe. Dear YouTube gods, I am sorry that history is full of not so cool things, but here at Bumblebee, I'm the queen bee, and I'm here to give the buzz to my sweet honeybees. So in the name of good morals, monetization, and not getting smited, I'm gonna talk about your least favorite S word. Back in the 1700s, America was chillin'. They just beat Britain in a war, which alone could be its own video. They were starting to build their own country, particularly in these southern colonies, using forced unpaid labor that you can't leave. Oh, and your boss can do heinous things to you because he owns you. Their economy was agricultural based and stayed stayed that way for a long time. Tobacco being the #1 crop at first, cotton was still grown but wasn't as popular due to the processing of cotton being a very labor-intensive and difficult process. This was until Eli Whitney's cotton gin, invented in 1794. The cotton gin was a machine that quickly removed seeds and processed cotton, making cotton a very valuable crop since, you know, the people harvesting the cotton are YouTube's least favorite S word. It's a brutal unpaid workforce. Now that it was profitable, cotton boomed and the South became very wealthy. While not exactly the main reason, the South getting rich off Whitney's design and did somewhat create a divide between the southern states and the northern states, eventually leading to the Civil War. Also, apparently plantation owners didn't pay Eli for his machine and he went broke. Just trashy behavior all around, man, come on. Number 6. Yes, I'm a Russian submarine commander. I actually couldn't believe this one myself, but the submarine was invented in the 1700s. Having designs and plans started in the 1500s, the first real use of a submersible vessel wasn't until 1775, named the Turtle, an acorn-shaped vessel with a crew of just 1. To me, it's just hard to think that in the same century we were beginning to master flight and sea travel. I also can't stop thinking that if there was a water ride that existed, it would be pretty cool if you went underwater in like a pod, like a submarine kind of thing. Just an idea for the mouse and the corporation. Of course, it wouldn't be years until after the Turtle that the submarine would see effective use. Or have a Scottish man play a Russian submarine commander in a really good movie. Russian submarine commander. Number 5. Dawn of the punch card. With the Industrial Revolution on the horizon, many things were about to change. Probably the most obvious at the time was factories. While not the first, Richard Arkwright's Cromford Mill in 1771 is what most resembles a modern factory today. Cromford Mill was the first water-powered cotton spinning mill and initially employed 200 workers. It ran day and night with 2 12-hour work shifts, the gates being locked at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., permitting no late arrivals. Oh, he likes to keep a tight schedule. Yeah, I can see the beginnings of a modern factory, alright. All you're missing is Bezos and a couple of drones to make it modern. All jokes aside though, these early factories changed the very fabric of not only Britain, but also the world. I mean, where would we be today with all that lovely pollution and those great and fair working conditions? I bet there was benefits too. Number 4. The golden liquid. You drink liquid and then it's gonna come out of you. It's simple, it's science. But sometimes other fluids need to be drained. Sometimes you can have difficulty using the little boys' room. Personally, I'm still learning how to put down the toilet seat. I haven't quite figured that one out. How to make pee when a person cannot pee. Portly founding father Benjamin Franklin thought to himself as he was holding a kite in the rain. This is something I learned, which I didn't know, is that he invented the flexible catheter. Yep. Next time you feel a little weird because a tube is being inserted into a sensitive area, you can thank the man on the $100 bill. Invented in 1752 in order to aid his brother with bladder stones. It's strange though, you think of a guy inventing other things, but in reality, it's a really important invention and something that's very common in the medical world today. I just hope to stay healthy long enough so no tube has to go near my founding father. Number 3. Full of air. The Industrial Revolution changed the world, we can't deny that. That can also be said for the steam trains. But what about pneumatic power trains? Back in the 1800s, a man named Alfred Eli Beach came up with such a design. Prior testing had proven useful enough to build a larger demonstration in New York. So he built a tunnel to test his air-powered train. It only ran a short distance, but the train held 22 people and was controlled by a roots blower nicknamed the Western Tornado. That was also my nickname in high school. Sadly, the project didn't receive much support from the government at the time and other methods for trains eventually took over. Unfortunate because it sounds like Alfred Eli Beach was very dedicated to the project, as he put up a very large sum of money to the project. The tunnel that housed the short train line was completed in 58 days. While he did have bigger plans for his train, it kind of just became an amusement for people. It was shortly shut down thereafter. But 58 days, that's pretty quick. I'd like to see that happen in a major city now. No way it's happening. Number 2. Ebony, ivory, living together in harmony. I honestly thought this one was older than the 1700s, but hey, here we are, invented in the year 1700 by a musically inclined Italian gentleman named Bartolomeo Cristofori. Unhappy with what was going on at the time, he decided to spice it up by changing out a few parts of some common instruments. And started using little hammers that strike quickly on chords and come back in hopes they would not dampen the sound. A little fine tuning here and there and bada bing bada boom, you got a piano. I would attempt to make a joke about the piano, but let's be honest, no piano, no Elton John. No jazz, no Frank Sinatra. If you're asking me, that's a big problem. Number 1. ABCs. As someone who struggles with reading, this one makes me want to hide under my covers at night. I spent countless hours as a kid learning to read, and oh man, the phonics lessons were brutal. And thanks to this invention, I can blame it all on the 1755 invention, the English dictionary. Yep, that's right. One of the most influential too. Written by Samuel Johnson, it took 7 years to compile all the words I can't pronounce. He was commissioned 1,500 guineas for the project, which is worth about £250,000 today. Until the completion of the Oxford Dictionary 173 years later, Johnson's dictionary is considered to be the preeminent English dictionary and a huge achievement in scholarship. I mean, you gotta give the guy credit for writing this. Imagine writing an English essay for 7 years. But then again, £250,000 for some of my writing also sounds pretty good. All I have to do now is learn to read and write. Number 10. Steel cage match, brother. Okay, so it's the early 1900s and you're living in a rapidly growing city. Towers are popping up everywhere, and that means that there's less space for you and your baby to play in. Only if there was a way my baby could get fresh air and sunshine. Meet the baby cage. Yeah, a small metal cage with a tiny mattress for your baby. The said metal cage is suspended on your windowsill, making the baby suspend multiple stories above ground level. This is just a great idea. The idea behind this terrible idea was that the babies need fresh air and sunshine. Providing them with such was thought to improve their immune system and make them healthier. Besides the fact that the only thing separating your baby from becoming the worst rainfall event of the month was a thin metal cage. This is a prime example of why every product should be thoroughly tested and thought about before selling. Eventually, these did fall out of fashion, but in reality this wasn't that long ago, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Number 9. Vigor's saddle. The road to better health starts here. Horseback riding was the thing back in the 1800s, of course, but how does one practice in the comfort of your own home? Before Guitar Hero, what did we do at our friend's house, right? Vigor's horse action saddle, that's what we did. This saddle would sit somewhere in your home and take up half the space. Ideally a place where nobody else could see, was always fun. And the way they marketed this thing, they made it seem like an actual health benefit, when really it's just like something that does this to you. On the advertisement it says it promotes good spirits, it quickens circulation, they love that circulation fact, it stimulates the liver, and it even creates an appetite. Ooh, I'm hungry already watching this. Watching somebody play VR, like in the corner of the room, that's pretty funny, that's a weird thing to see. Imagine your roommate hopping on one of these. It's a little intimate, I'd say. A little rather intimate.
Number 8. I'm ready for my close-up. Ladies, this one's for you. In this day and age with social media, loving your self-image can be tough. There's tons of things that makeup companies and media do to make you want to be the people they want you to be. If you buy said product, of course. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't need all that. You're gorgeous just the way you are, and lately, honey, you've been slaying it. However, this marketing manipulation isn't new, and in the past, most certainly wasn't very subtle. Introducing the Beauty Micrometer, the latest from How to Horrify People Daily. It was actually invented by the famed beautician Max Factor Sr. Hell of a name. This steel cagey device was placed over a poor woman's head to then mathematically calculate the flaws that would be adjusted using makeup products. Obviously these are no longer around, and for good reason. I don't even have a joke for that one, that's just weird. Number 7. Back to the Future. During the technological boom of electronics in the 1980s, there was one invention I think is really unusual. Computers, camcorders, and even home video game consoles were becoming commonplace all over the world. People who are familiar with retro Nintendo consoles are familiar with the likes of Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, or Contra. You may even remember a certain gaming accessory involving a laughing dog every time you miss a duck. What 80s kids might not remember is the Konami Laser Scope. Similar to Nintendo's Zapper, but with two key differences. 1, it's a headset instead of a pistol. 2, it's voice controlled, meaning when you come across enemies in game, you have to shout fire to fire in game. The Konami Laser Scope was bold and tried to be ahead of its time, but when taking a good look at it, 1, it makes the user just look ridiculous, and 2, it doesn't work. Reviews for the headset are not favorable and just defeat the purpose of using a headset. Today we have VR headsets that may seem just as ridiculous, but they work, and the use of voice still isn't a primary control used in games today. Number 6. Battleship Woodchip. This is one of my favorites. Okay, hear me out for this one. Back in the 1940s, there was a really super not very fun expensive war happening. Germany, Japan, and Italy needed to go into the timeout corner. But after a while of people trying to put each other in the timeout corner, things were getting super expensive. World War II was fought on all fronts, land, sea, and air. The sea being a key part of the war victory in the beginning of the war. Literally tons of war goods and ships were being sunk by German U-boats every day across the Atlantic. So, in order to cut costs, what if the ships were built out of something cheaper, but just as tough as steel? Concrete, right? Nope, I bet you weren't thinking ice. Or more specifically, sawdust and ice mixed to form pykrete. Testing with pykrete had gone so well that in a super secret general meeting, pykrete was presented, shot at in the meeting, ricocheting a bullet causing another general a flesh wound. Having its defense capabilities proven in the war room, Operation Habakkuk was greenlit, and the Allies were planning on constructing an aircraft carrier made out of ice and sawdust to help thwart the German U-boats. However, this was scrapped, as a boat made of sawdust and ice would really not be much help against a German U-boat. Plus, where do you sleep? Can you cook on there? Way more questions than answers. Number 5. Hello there! Channeling our inner General Grievous, our number 5 spot belongs to the monowheel. Originally designed in the 19th century, it wasn't until the 20th century they slapped a motor on one of these bad boys and did their best escape attempt from Utapau. Sorry, I'm a Star Wars guy. It just looks like the vehicle from the third movie, I can't help myself. In reality, the monocycle is a single-wheeled motorized vehicle where the driver either sits inside the wheel housing or right beside it. Today these vehicles are still around but really only used for entertainment purposes, as the design does have a few issues. One wheel gives balance issues, there's a visibility issue since, well, you're usually sitting inside the wheel, and an issue called gerbling, which basically means if the driver brakes too hard, the inner ring will overcome its own gravity and the driver will do a full loop, similar to how a gerbil spins around on its wheel. Seeing that would make Monday morning traffic a lot more amusing though, I gotta say. Number 4. Deep breath, my equine friend. World War I was the war to end all wars, except for the 10 major wars that came after it. Noted for being the bloodiest and most destructive conflict at the time, it gave humanity a bunch of cool and exciting inventions, so long as they were not being used on you. One of the worst things to come out of the First World War was the extensive use of trench warfare and chemical weapons, or more specifically chlorine gas. Trench warfare was brutal, not only in its barbaric over-the-top charges into machine gun fire, but also in its living. Trenches had terrible living conditions, and were difficult to take from the enemy. Crossing no man's land was no joke. So, to eliminate the pesky enemies entrenched in their trenches, the very cruel chlorine gas was used, causing nausea, violent coughing, chest pain, and corneal burns, just about everything you'd find on the back of normal medication, right? Gas masks helped when they were available, but unfortunately they were not the only living creatures on the battlefield. This is where our invention comes in. The very depressing invention of the horse gas mask. The idea is the same. Horses need protection too, and since World War I was still a war powered by horses, it was more common than you might think. And a lot of our equine friends perished alongside us.
Number 3. Holiday cards. Speaking of. Today these holiday Hallmark cards, they go too hard, right? Like a little bit too much. Give me a blank space, I'll write some stuff, and we're good. Don't give me this haiku, what? So specific. They have a card for everything. Birthdays, weddings, your stepdad's uncle's name's day, whatever. They have everything covered and it's great. Back in the 1800s, these holiday cards, they were brand new. This was a brand new idea. Nobody knew what to write or say or even draw. So they'd end up giving these artistic, sentimental scenes. It's literally a frog in a top hat riding a bike. It's like a carrot with a face. Haunting image really to receive on Christmas, but it's the thought that counts, right? So you'd see it and go, thank you so much. I'm gonna put this away forever.
Number 2. Chef's kiss. Okay, it's 1958. Times are good. Cars have cool fins on them. Elvis is on the radio, and most of my post-traumatic stress disorder has cleared up since the war was over. It's all great. Yes, life is good. I can't wait to enjoy some modern cuisine. Well, let's see what's on the menu. I'll have to start with the frozen cheese salad. I'll have ham and banana hollandaise. And for dessert, I'll have the lime jello tuna pie. If that doesn't sound appetizing, I don't know what does. For some reason, halfway through the century, people just lost their taste buds. They were coming up with all kinds of disgusting foods. A lot of them are in low form for some strange reason. I think the grossest item that you can come across is a little invention called hongar. Sounds like somebody from Skyrim, but nay good sir. Hongar is a mixture of honey and apple cider vinegar. It was thought to provide great health benefits. The only thing that would give me is a spot in front of the toilet refunding my breakfast. Number 1. Krümellauf. Germany was having a really hard time in World War II. United States, Canada, Britain, Australia, France, and Russia too were all coming to give the mustache man a piece of their mind. Heavily outnumbered, it was time for a miracle. Time to see what top German scientists had up their sleeve. We have a rifle that can shoot around the corners. Isn't it wunderbar? Yeah, this thing is real. A curved barrel called a Krummlauf, used for shooting around tight spaces like corners and out of tank hatches. During the waning years of the war, Germany was coming up with all kinds of crazy inventions to turn the tide. But a rifle that can shoot around corners probably isn't the answer. As mentioned above, the world was coming, and they needed a lot more than a fancy pants rifle to stop the Allies. History tells us that this invention did not work, as Mustache Man is no more.
Number 10. Daylight motion pictures. I saw Avatar 2 last night, and I you not, the lights did not turn off for the first 5 minutes of the movie. Yeah, it was chaos. People were yelling, ushers were throwing their visors at the lights. It was chaos on Pandora. You need complete darkness to enjoy a movie. For personal preference, obviously, but for the projector's sake, we need to see the damn light, okay? It has to work. Back in the 1910s, daylight motion pictures were normal for a hot minute. Can you believe that? This trend moved across the country right after a bill was passed. So theaters went from dark and enjoyable to bright enough that you can now see who's sitting next to you in 4K with your real eyes in a bright room. It was a safety hazard for theaters to not have the lights on. Can you imagine if this stuck around? I would be so pissed. Just this bright the entire movie, we're like, alright, I think it's the Avengers, I don't know.
Turn your lawn into a Trojan battlefield by playing lawn darts, a game where you punt a 4-inch metal spike with a handle across your lawn and ideally not into your neighbor. Childhood. Alright, so this nightmare product didn't origin in the 80s, hell it wasn't even from the 70s. Lawn darts go as far back as 500 BCE Greece and are obviously inspired by the battle and hunting weapon a spear, which is known to be given a charging or spinning start before being thrown. They were banned in 1970 initially by the Consumer Product Safety Commission, but the manufacturers challenged the ban and a compromise was reached wherein a lawn dart could no longer be marketed or sold as toys or in toy stores and had to contain the following warning. Not a toy for use by children, may cause serious or fatal injury, read instructions carefully, keep out of reach of children. But it's the 80s when children could do and did do whatever they wanted with reckless abandon without any supervision. Naturally, this was the time lawn darts became a booming trend once more and fell into the hands of the irresponsible. There are 3 known deaths relating to lawn darts. The father of one victim made it his mission to get the game re-banned. His campaign had the Consumer Commission re-evaluate the injuries and deaths lawn darts had caused, and oopsie, they had misidentified how many injuries there were that had to be updated in statistics. Turns out from January of 1978 to December of 1986, lawn darts were responsible for an estimated 6,100 hospital emergency room treated injuries, and approximately 81% of the victims were under 15 years old. So yeah, in 1988 the commission voted to ban lawn darts sale completely.
Number 8. Ab belts. Alright, here we go. Perfect product for the guys who want an 8-pack without doing any of the work. Just gotta shake your shit around. This is horrible. You're gonna shit your pants doing this. The ab belt sounds too good to be true, and that's because scientifically it is. Ab belts in the 90s were as hot as Tom Hanks was at the time. It was crazy. Everybody had one of these in their household. I think we may have had one growing up, now that I think of it. An ab belt, did I have it? Maybe. I don't know what it was. We also had a bowling ball growing up, so I don't know, parents are weird in the 90s. Science can confirm that wearing an ab belt has no real benefit whatsoever. It does not make you strong like Thor. That's not how it works at all. If your company is thinking about making false claims, well, expect real lawsuits to follow. Number 7. Walking sleeping bag. Dare I say a perfect gift for the sleepwalker in the household. Here we go. A sleeping bag, but with footholes and a face hole. Also, no holes for the arms. Just legs and face holes. That's it. 1, 2, 3. I can't think of a more dangerous product to possibly sell. Now, as somebody who has broken his front teeth twice, I can say with full confidence this is the worst product in history. One misstep and you're just watching your oncoming doom right in front of you, and you can't even stop with your hands. I get it on paper, this thing sounds cozy for a few minutes, and sure, I guess it's fun. But what about when you can't find the zipper inside? Then what? Now you're David Copperfield and you're trying to escape death. I hate sleeping bags in general. Do you sleep in sleeping bags? I hope not. If so, get out. I don't know, get a blanket. I don't know, I'm put myself into a hole. Number 6, portable record players. Remember when iPods came out and it was like 1,000 songs in your pocket? That was a big deal. That actually changed the game. You know, technology-wise, that was it. We went up from there. Portable record players, Not so much. That's like 8 songs in your pocket. That's really nothing in comparison right there. Back in the 80s, right before cassette players and Walkmans hit the street, this was the only way to listen to music on the go. That would really suck. That's horrible. That's like a really hot period of time there. And it looks so silly too, obviously. The thing's so big. I don't think records are meant to be on your person with headphones. Like, what are you, Mozart? What are you doing? What is this that you have attached to your waist? It looks like an IED. Get this off. This is terrible. A portable record player is not a good idea, now or then. In order to enjoy Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, you of course had to remain completely still. You're like, hey guys, come on, listen. Nobody f***ing move. Number 5, radiated toys. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab, nice. This toy set sure looks fun upon first glance, but when the company released this kit back in 1950, it was all but games. Gilbert, who was a successful toy maker, businessman, and even magician, always a red flag, I guess, he believed that his line of work should be fun yet informative. Yeah, one of those nerds. He was nicknamed the man who saved Christmas after he convinced the US Council of National Defense not ban toy purchases during World War I around the holiday season, so that's cool. He really wanted to get this product out there and still make money during a war. What a hero. This set was around $50 too, which back in the day was a lot more than $50 now, and the price was justified as the set was actually radioactive. Sorry, what? That's right, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab contained a cloud chamber where you can actually see real alpha particles traveling at 12,000 miles a second. Yeah, imagine asking for a light bright and you get this. You're like, oh cool, radiation poisoning, that's awesome. I'd rather find coal. Next. Number 4, Birkin Bronze Radium Chocolate. This sounds like a bad time already. Radium chocolate? That's horrible. These delights were sold between 1931 and 1936, and it was praised for the effect that it had on consumers. See, instead of getting a tummy ache after downing some of the Birkin Bronze chocolate, you would feel rejuvenated. The chocolate was made in real radium water, guaranteed. That was the selling point, you know? Real radium water. That's, if you see this, you're either playing Fallout 4 or you've gone back in time. This is not looking good. Looking back now at the details that I just provided you, you can imagine the horror stories that slowly began to spread over these new delicious treats. It's the holidays, you know, you gotta be careful. Lindor always messes me up. That's a bad one. Lindor and radium chocolate both really upset my tummy.
The most memorable name on the list has to be Blockbuster. I can smell old carpets riddled with soda and mildew now. Nothing says luxury like wandering here on a Friday night to rent a copy of the newly released River's Edge and crush on a young Keanu Reeves with your bestie. In 1985, the first Blockbuster opened in Dallas, Texas. Yeehaw! At the time, most video rental stores were private ownership and offered a limited selection of titles. Seeing as Blockbuster had some 8,000 tapes displayed and readily available and a computerized checkout process, well, the first store was an unsurprising success and they expanded rapidly. They eventually became the largest providers of in-home movie entertainment and expanded to video and board game rentals as well. By 1985, Blockbuster was America's leading video chain with some 400 stores. By the early 1990s, Blockbuster launched its 1,000th store and expanded into the overseas market. While in the 80s they reigned, the 90s they fall. In the mid-1990s, the DVD made its debut, and with it came Netflix, the online DVD rental company, and Amazon video stores. Pay-per-view was an additional stab to Blockbuster's gut. The additional competition of being able to watch instantly without leaving home was just way too much. In 2004, Blockbuster tried to keep up with the online DVD rental service, but it just couldn't compete with Netflix's. On September 23rd of 2010, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. By 2014, the last of the company-owned stores had closed, and that, kids, is how streaming killed the video star.
Number 2, spring spokes. There's winter tires and then there's spring tires. Here we go. This is, one of them works, one of them doesn't. Back in 1905, which didn't even know there was cars back then, automobile manufacturers tried to create spring spoke wheels to make your commute a lot smoother, right? If you live downtown Toronto, here you go. This is gonna save your day. You would hit a rock and then go boing, and then all of a sudden you would be at work. Sounds perfect. Sounds like not a hazard at all. This of course didn't last in history. We don't have these at all outside today, thankfully. Wheels were breaking under pressure. They were wobbly, which is certainly the last thing you want while you're driving to work, I assume. I don't have a car, a commute kid. Spinners are sick. You want to jazz up your ride, grab some spinners, throw those on your Jeep, you're good. You see any spring wheels? Just keep moving. And finally, number 1, earthquake machine. Nikola Tesla. Of course, I have to save an invention of his for number 1. This man knew a thing or two about electricity, and legend has it he made a steam-powered machine that could actually cause small earthquakes. Yeah, sounds like a supervillain, but okay, science, I guess. Tesla's electromechanical oscillator, or earthquake machine as I call it because it's a little easier. Legend has it, it actually caused a small earthquake in 1898 in New York. Yeah, in New York too, that's like an Avengers level threat right there. Now, Nikola Tesla told this at his 79th birthday party, according to his biographer, so there's no science that support these claims, therefore, was it real? Probably not, but it's kind of fun to think about, right? The vibrations on this machine was basically a massive taser, and it caused your muscles to clench up. And, you know, ergo, things would leave your body after you'd clench, so yeah. Nikola Tesla, was he a supervillain? Comment down below. Sounds like it.
And to start us at number 10 is the car phone. Our first dabbling with mobile phones ironically came in the form of our vehicles. These funky and clunky phones could be carried in briefcases that were to be stored and charged in the car, or were straight up just built into it. This could be in the center or backseat console, the dashboard, the driver's side door, endless possibilities. The car phone was at its best and most high-tech during the 90s and was definitely part of the very important technology for very important people fad and mindset. If you weren't born to see them in person, perhaps you've seen them in 90s film and TV hits, shows like Seinfeld and Friends, and iconic scenes like in Die Hard when Bruce Willis is saving the day and they flip to a shot of Argyle oblivious of the chaos above whilst talking to his sweet honey on the car phone.
Number 9. Drones. I mean, sure, drones can deliver packages now in like 13 minutes flat, and sure, they can fly through bowling lanes in cinematic fashion, but could drones be so advanced that we're actually mistaking them for alien aircraft? Possibly. We don't know how advanced these things are. We have no idea, not even the military. Back in the early 60s, the CIA had this secret program called Project Aqualine, where they used these small drones with a low radar cross-section, a little camera, all that spy stuff, and it was disguised as a bird, believe it or not. The first prototype was a bit obvious. It weighed over 100 pounds, it was this massive eagle-looking thing, but the only way to catch the drone was to fly it into a net, which broke something almost every single flight. Cut to 2022, it looks a little bit differently. Now there's like a bird conspiracy, people don't even believe birds are real, and there's for sure a drone pigeon out there somewhere.
For number 8, it's the Palm Pilot. Let's take a second and remember this pre-cell phone, the grandmother of handheld digital devices. PDAs, personal digital assistants for my young people, were truly beloved of the 90s, but none more so than the Palm Pilot, which took everyone by storm. A businessman glued to his Palm Pilot was an ongoing cliche in 90s movies. They could check emails, work on documents, they had little games on them as well. They came with a writing stylus that would only work on the screen of that device. Convenient until you lost yours and had to go out and buy a new one. Yes, they truly had all the features of a futuristic parking meter with its unlit display and few hundred kilobytes. This device is laughable if you have an 8GB phone because you have the memory storage of 16,000 Palm Pilots. The toy that could get us all out of absences at school, Talk Boy, is number 7, the perfect symbol of 90s tech. Clunky, obsolete, tied to a beloved 90s franchise and featuring a payoff that, for the time, was an amazing novelty. It was seriously just a video cassette in a little player upon which you could record and play back your own voice or somebody else's. No part of that setup is still relevant whatsoever. The audio recorder only had 2 features, speeding and slowing down recorded vocals. But that was good enough to pull off a few unbelievable pranks, pretend to be your parents on the phone, or mess with some bullies, as was shown to us all by Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 2. The second this chunky device was used in the hit franchise, it had kids everywhere clamoring to have one. And lest we forget, the Talk Boy also had a cooler, sleeker cousin, the Yak Bag, which could only record a few seconds of sound and play it forward or backwards like an auditory Vine or TikTok of 90s audio toys. Number 6, annoying but efficient, beepers. Also called pagers, these devices were fantastic for reaching someone right away. How they worked was a call or email is forwarded to the pager, a message comes in with a number to call. Although hardly used anymore, pagers remain one of the most reliable forms of communication available and are still widely used by doctors as there's no delay in delivery, battery, no network overload, and no dead zones. They had to be reachable at all times, but only in an archaic, indirect way. Someone pages you, and then you have to go find a telephone and call them back. You also definitely kept a list of all the codes you needed to understand in the messages you received in your back pocket. That's why when you've watched medical dramas, there's always that scene of a doctor being paged, checking the mini radio frequency device, and then suddenly running away. If someone had a pager, they were usually important or needed it for work, but most people had them by the late 90s. People used to say beep me, and it was a really cool thing. Meanwhile, today's grade schoolers are walking around with fully functioning iPhones like they're expecting a call from Rihanna at any second. Clear Craze was a nightmarish 90s product fad that brought up number 5, Crystal Pepsi. This soft drink was made by PepsiCo and initially released in Canada and the United States from 1992 to 1994. As a result of the 1980s to 90s clear craze, as I mentioned, this craze started because the idea of a clear product was a pure product. As we know, this is 100% not true, but Crystal Pepsi was one of the many clear and colorless products released by manufacturers such as Soapsoft, Miller Brewing Company, Palmolive, and more. In Crystal Pepsi's first year, it captured 1 full percentage point of US soft drink sales, or approximately 474 million, the equivalent to 889 million in 2021. By late 1993, the manufacturer discontinued the beverage. In 2013, a video of Kevin Strahl drinking a vintage 90s bottle of Crystal Pepsi went viral. This video alone sparked tens of thousands of petition signatures to bring the drink back. Even billboards were erected to demand for it. This interest from this campaign led to an official response to Strahl by PepsiCo on June 8th of 2015, commenting on the YouTuber and his fans' commitment and enthusiasm with the teaser of the drink's return. And so in mid-2016, Crystal Pepsi was released across the United States and Canada, promoted with a retro-style website and marketing video. The funny thing is, it tastes like normal Pepsi. You may not remember the item, but your ankles will. Number 4, the Skip It. Whew, my shins hurt just thinking about it. During its initial release in the 1980s, the Skip It toy became a commercial success through its advertisements on daytime TV such as Nickelodeon and Boomerang, as well as other children's programming. It was based off of the toy of the exact same concept, the Lemon Twist from the 1960s. A Skip It is a weighted plastic ball that ties around the ankle. A stretch of cord in between your ankle and the ball is skipped over as you swing the weighted ball around 360 in a circle. Oh yeah, those suckers could whip back at any second and give you a bruise that even a Razor scooter could be envious of giving. Sometimes they were super fancy, making noise, having cool designs, or flashing lights, things of that nature, for the cool kids of 4th grade. Time magazine included it in their 100 greatest toys ever, and it's actually still available for purchase today, but considerably less common and less popular.
Number 3, flying cars. Where we're going, we still need roads. Ideally, Marty, let's do it. Even scarier than self-driving cars. Cars that fly. I never want this, personally. I can't even parallel park now, let alone in the air. Know what I mean? This idea started to get real back in 2017. You may have seen it online. The concept of a futuristic hover car was revealed officially. It was called the Renault Float Car, and it wasn't as cool as we thought, but it's a step, definitely a step forward. There's numerous companies working on a floating car right now, and to be honest, by 2024, we could actually see these things on the road. So heads up or forward. I don't know, just stay awake on the road. Just drive, please.
Number 2 is a trip to orbit and the bathroom, because this can't have been good for your stomach. This is for my Canadians. The 90s was a creative era for many things, especially beverages. Companies explored unforeseen parameters of flavor and aesthetics, and so we see the Orbit soda, not soda beverage thing. It was a Canadian beverage, and it was short-lived, both coming out and being discontinued in the same year of 1997. It's a clear drink, clear craze things, that's chock full of sugar and had bright colored gelatin balls suspended and floating mysteriously. It was fruit flavored, but I'll be honest, these are the last flavors I expected to read when I was researching this product. Blackcurrant berry, blueberry, melon, strawberry, pineapple, banana, cherry, coconut, raspberry, citrus, and vanilla orange. That is intense. No wonder these drinks were short-lived because of their overwhelming flavor combinations and weird floating orbs. Lava lamps are fun to look at, but no one wants to drink one. But if you do, hit eBay. You can still find unsealed Orbit's drinks there, running you an average of $50 a bottle. And number 1 is the Windows Start Maze screensaver. Ah yes, the back rooms. Maybe this screensaver is why so many of us find a fascination with that concept. Anyways, if you had a desktop computer in or around the time of 1995 and 6, you're likely familiar with this endless maze screensaver. While the graphics may be painful to look at now, they were top-notch visual at the time, like a 4D roller coaster. The default setting for the maze is a textured with brick walls and a wood floor, bar and its bestest tile ceiling. Users can customize these textures, swapping them out for animated psychedelic patterns in later versions, or maybe create their own custom textures. The walls are lined with art, some random plants, and statues. The maze is randomly generated each time, with the player navigating it in first person, spawning in front of a floating start button. After starting, it automatically traverses using the right hand rule, which will guarantee the maze will eventually be solved because all randomly generated mazes are simply connected. This bizarre maze was perfect to zone out to for hours, or be the basis of creepypastas and spooky stories. I'm sure many 90s kids watching have their own memories of this creepy yet neat screensaver.
Number 10. Game Boy shoes. I'm not the most fashionable guy on the planet. I'm just a simple guy who likes simple things, so you can understand my shock, my horror, and my confusion when I saw the Game Boy shoes. Yes, that's right. Remember the Game Boy? Picking a starter Pokemon for the first time. That was a really serious choice. The very same portable console that changed your childhood could now sit snug as a bug in your platform shoe. I have several issues with this. One, can someone send me a working Game Boy? I miss those games, man. Come on, this is really cool. I want one. Number 2, it just looks ugly. No shot you roll up to somebody's house with those bad boys and they go, yeah, you're cool, dude. You look great. You don't. Number 3, maybe this is fine to wear in sunny California, but in Canada, the Game Boy would spend most of its time in snow. Or puddles. I couldn't do that to such a beautiful piece of gaming history. I would never forgive myself. Number 9, the potty putter. This was ridiculous. Golf. The sport for wealthy businessmen across the world and for every schmuck who wishes they could get into the clubhouse. That's me. I like the clubhouse. It's cool. I don't mind a round of golf. It's just I'm more excited for the ice cold beers during the day. It's why I prefer mini golf. What can I say? I like the simple things in life. So maybe I should get a potty putter. A miniature golf set for the bathroom. Just what everyone needs. Me to spend more time in the bathroom, hog out the toilet. Sorry boys and girls. Complete with green, putter, 2 golf balls, and a little hole with a flag. Now you can practice your putt and grout the tile at the same time. I'm not sure where to begin with this, but if there's anything to be said, it's that toilet time is toilet time. I don't think I have to tell you guys how unsanitary sharing a golf club in the bathroom is. Ooh, stinky. But hey, at least it comes with a do not disturb sign so people know you're getting your practice in. Ooh, better not disturb Dad. He's on back of the whole 9 and he's about to put it in for a good one there. He's about to put her in there. Number 8, floppy disks. Going with a lot of tech today, but stuff like this defined the later half of the century. Why are floppy disks on this list? Well, because it was arguably just as important as the PCs that revolutionized computers. And it's silly to think that how storage that small was so useful. Storage on floppy disks varied from different models over the years, but for an example, one model held 1.44 megabytes. Today in 2022, we are arguably in the beginning of the terabyte era. Now, try putting more than 5 AAA games on your Xbox, am I right? Gigabytes just aren't enough anymore. Now, if you crunch some numbers, a 1 terabyte flash drive has over 1 million MG, which, if we do even more math, is just under 700,000 floppy disks to our modern equivalent. The math is a little rough, but my point is clear. We've come a long way. Well, turns out that they were still somewhat being used up until 2019. I know, that's what I said. The US and whatever mysterious forces are in charge of nuclear weapons were still using them up until 2019. I feel like that's the wrong thing to put in charge of nuclear weapons. A floppy disk for nukes? That just feels like a bad idea. Number 7. Dial P for Palpatine. I just wanted to give you guys some more Palpatine. I think you guys really like it. But something that I don't know if our viewers experienced, but let us know if you did. This is kind of interesting actually, but the creation of 911. Honestly, what did people do before that? Pick up the phone and like, operator, help! Help, my house is on fire! Okay, sir, hold on, we'll just connect you. Okay, thanks. This is the fire department. Help, help, my house is on fire! Well, thanks to the totally non-corrupt and fairly priced AT&T, a nationwide number was decided to be the best for dialing emergencies and not waiting for an operator or any other option like screaming for help. A senator made the first 911 call on February 16th, 1968, which sounds like a long time ago, and it is, but it also kinda isn't. I don't know, that's kinda weird. Number 6, I am the destroyer of worlds. I mean, this is kind of a big one, literally. It's the reason why there hasn't been a World War III since, or why there will never be a World War IV, because there would just be nothing left. What am I talking about, of course? Jello mold foods. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about nuclear weapons with the capabilities to wipe out an entire city with the flip of a button. Part of the super secret Manhattan Project, the goal was to make a weapon so destructive that whoever was unfortunate enough to catch a case of the super weapon would surrender immediately. Japan would unfortunately be on the receiving side of this, and shortly thereafter surrendered World War II. Imagine though, the power to level an entire city in just a few seconds. It's something unthinkable just a few years before. Some might even call it an act of biblical proportions. And you wouldn't be that far off either. Number 5. Only us humans. Human beings, smart, intelligent, loving creatures, right? Well, the ones I like to be around are, and I hope the ones around you are too. Okay, where am I going with this? Well, I think we can all agree that war sucks, right? Look at Ukraine and Russia right now. What I think a lot of people don't think about is war logistics, what goes into a war effort. Every bootstrap, backpack, and bullet fired has to be counted and shipped. The weirdest thing, or perhaps the worst thing that we've done, is mass produce small arms. The automat Kalashnikov needs no introduction. You've seen it in movies, games, and all over the news in the last 60 years. An effective, cheap, and reliable tool that's the backbone of insurrections across the world and probably will be for many years to come. The point I'm trying to make is that we can create and make such beautiful things, but so much time has gone into destroying one another. Kalashnikov is unfortunately really good at doing that. In some black markets of the third world countries, they go for as little as $100 US. It is estimated that of every firearm ever made, 1 in 5 is a Kalashnikov. Number 4. I wanted one. It should come as no surprise that my persona is that of a lumberjack. I like relaxing after a long day. I'm big and I like beer. That's how it goes. While certainly not the manliest man, you never find me at a My Little Pony convention. I'm just not going there. Where am I going with this? Well, if you were a young girl growing up, there's a chance you had an easy bake oven. Yes, that's right. I, Big Ched, wanted an easy bake oven, but as a young man, I was embarrassed to have pink. I mean, come on, I can't have pink. It's pink. Even though now I'd be totally fine with pink. I like pink cars. I think they look cool. I was a tubby kid and just wanted some brownies with icing. Can you blame me? No, you can't. However, there is something about giving your kid a little oven that's, well, strange. There's no way I should have been given anything sharp, let alone an oven. Yes, I know they're pretty safe, but still, it's a weird concept and weird thing to bring up in the boardroom for an idea. Guy walks in the room and he's like, kids, ovens, fires, put them together. What do you got? $1 million idea, let's go. Number 3, the lava lamp. Where would the 60s and 70s be without shag carpet and the lava lamp? It kind of goes hand in hand along with the shag carpet. In another fad from that era, it seemed every college dorm around wasn't complete without one. That being said, they're more of an eye candy than a functional light. Invented by Edward Craven Walker as he was bored one day in a bar. So a lot of good ideas start. Sure, thanks Edward, but no one ever says, oh no, it's so dark in here, better turn on my lava lamp. You got my, right, thank you, perfect. Trouble is, to make that lava flow and that desired effect, it needs a heat source, which usually is done through a light bulb underneath the main canister of lava. Now, while most modern lava lamps are completely safe, the old ones? Well, you gotta be careful around older electronics like that, especially if you've ever seen Mythbusters. While the light bulb may not be enough heat to cause any issues, an external or excessive heat could render the lava lamp to erupt, and it's not good. See that episode of Mythbusters? Oh, it's not good. It's lethal, actually. Number 2, electronic cafe. This is going to sound weird to anyone born after 1995, but there used to be internet cafes. Yeah, I know, there's some that still exist, but it's just a weird concept. Hi, come on in where you can order a coffee and browse the World Wide Web with your sticky keys. And that's not because of a typo. There's just something about sharing a PC with the whole city that rubs me the wrong way. Because I know for a fact there's some dudes in there who are rubbing themselves the wrong way in the cafe. In the 90s when PCs were becoming a mainstay in homes and offices, some folks just didn't have one yet. Or if they did, had full access to the internet. Do you remember the dial-up sound? Ooh, sound of nightmares. So coming to a place to access such modern technology made sense in the 1990s and even the early 2000s. However, in 2022, when everyone has a supercomputer in their pocket, not so much. Smartphones are really cool. It's actually pretty cool technology. Number 1, the infomercial king. Not the first to do it and won't be the last, but he may be the best. As a kid growing up in the late 90s, watching TV on a Sunday afternoon made a few things certain. I was going to have my snackies and juice. I was going to ponder what a house hippo was. I was going to be yelled at by a man with enough charisma to use OxyClean. Yes, the famous infomercial featuring the late Billy Mays. There was just something charming about his performance that made you want to clean stains easily. Infomercials are a way to shove products down your throat. Call now, but wait, there's more. 3 easy payments of $19.99. Sell, sell, sell. With infomercials, they aren't just selling you a product, they are selling the infomercial themselves. It just wouldn't be as effective if the ShamWow guy wasn't weird about his peanuts on ice cream.